Hey guys, we are back talking about Conversations with God in Uncommon Dialogue by Neale Donald Walsch, book number 1. This book is super interesting. In it, Neale Donald Walsch is super upset with life and he starts writing a letter to God, and lo and behold, God writes back. And in this section, we are now on chapter 2, and in this part, we're talking about how God shows up. And I find this so interesting because I really wanted to highlight this for a lot of people, because I think people tend to believe that God needs to show up in some holy spiritual way. And I have seen people with tattoos who cuss show up and deliver a spiritual message and catch a lot of shit for it. I'm not gonna say who, but it's me. Okay, anyways, so let me read you guys the section that this is God talking now, okay? Let me explain something to you. You have this idea that God shows up in only one way in life. That's a very dangerous idea. It stops you from seeing God all over. If you think God looks only one way, or sounds only one way, or is only one way, you're gonna look right past me night and day. You'll spend your whole life looking for God and not finding her because you're looking for a him. I use this as an example. It has been said that if you don't see God in the profane and the profound, you're missing half the story. That is the great truth. God is in the sadness and the laughter, in the bitter and the sweet. There is a divine purpose behind everything, and therefore a divine presence in everything. This is Neale talking now. I once began writing a book called God is a Salami Sandwich. God replies, that would have been a very good book. I gave you the inspiration. Why did you not write it? Neale says, it felt like blasphemy, or at the very least, horribly irreverent. So, let's talk about it. I recently watched an episode or an interview on The Breakfast Club on YouTube that was interviewing Kirk Franklin. If you know Kirk Franklin, he's a gospel singer, he's a preacher, he's been singing since way back, since I can remember. And he was just at an award show at the BET Awards, and Kevin Hart made a joke about him twerking. And, just some very crass jokes. And he kind of laughed about it, chuckled at it, but he wasn't like laughing hilariously. Like, it was a funny joke. But he said in the interview that he felt like he couldn't really laugh because the people who watch him kind of hold him to this standard about what he needs to be like, how he needs to dress, how he needs to act, some of the things that, that are, more crass and more uncouth, that he shouldn't be like reacting to them in that way. Like, he can't just be seen as like, bruh, you know what I mean? He has to be seen as, yes, sir, like very prim and proper. And he was saying how even people will say, oh man, you look like you haven't aged a day. And he was like, yeah, well, we started when me and my wife started this when we were like 25, and we felt like people wouldn't take us seriously because we were so young. So we dressed more mature. We dressed so that people would see us as older and not really think of us as young because we wanted to be taken seriously. And so in this, it's like, this delivery of a spiritual message can often be lost if you believe that it's supposed to only come from people who are like swamis or priests or rabbis. Like, if you imagine that they have to look a certain way, then you can potentially be missing amazing spiritually grounded people because they don't look a certain way. Maybe they have tattoos, maybe they swear, maybe they wear a lot of makeup, maybe they have a lot of plastic surgery, but the message that they're sharing isn't from them, it's from God, it's from the universe or the source or the creator, however you want to look at it. And in this book, it's saying, Don't look at what the messenger is saying. Feel what the messenger is saying. Experience what the messenger is saying. Understand that, the message that the universe is sending isn't going to come from just one way. They could be young, they could be old. Hell, you can even get a message from your dog if you're open to it. And I feel like a lot of people are blinded to, that we hold these gurus or the sages in this high position, and they are owed some level of respect, but can a sage not be somebody who has like a mohawk and facial tattoos? Can somebody who is spiritually grounded be somebody who, I don't know, like lives in a yurt or versus a mansion? Like, we have to really think about what it is that we're looking for from a message versus who it is that we're looking for the message from. And in this, I think I would have read the book God is a Salami Sandwich, just because that's the kind of person that I am. I remember a long time ago, I read this book by Al Franken called Rush Limbaugh is a Big Fat Idiot, just because of the title. I have zero political inclination, especially at that time. And so reading a book like that was just because he was calling somebody a big fat idiot. And so I think I would have read God is a Salami Sandwich. Like, I tend to want to gravitate towards the weird, the things that are just like out of place, things that don't quite fit the norm. And it's not because I feel like I don't fit the norm. It's more like, how can this person, or like the way that they worded this, their experience that is so like out of like the pattern of life, what did they glean from being outside of the matrix? You know what I mean? And it turns out that a lot. And what you find that from people who are revered as sages and priests and gurus and swamis and rabbis, what they say, the things that they tell us, are the exact same things that the people who we would think of as in the fringe are saying the same thing too. They've learned their lessons, and they've been so attuned to their inner language and their inner dialogue that they've been able to glean the same messages that these people that we would normally think of as the deliverers of God's message, they're still getting the message too. So if you feel like you could not become in contact with God or the universe, the creator, the source, or whatever, however you define it, because of a certain way that you look, talk, and act, that's not true. It's absolutely not true. The message of the universe, I'm just going to say the universe from now on. The message of the universe for you can come to you directly, not through these other people, not through, people who don't look like you, people who don't act like you. You can find people who look like you to help you and guide you through these different journeys that you have of your spirituality. So I found that really interesting that, even another book is just saying this. And I've said this plenty of times that I've read so many self-help books and they all say the same thing. And each one of them says the same thing, that the inner truth is inner truth. The universal wisdom is inside of everyone. Doesn't matter what you look like, how you talk, what your background is, how much money you have, who you want to sleep with. It doesn't matter. None of that really matters. What matters is taking the time to actually listen to everything that is inside of you and being one with the universe. Accepting that you too can also talk to God. Okay, guys, that's it for me. So again, I'm going to put a link in the description for Conversations with God. If you want to get it from the library, get it from the library. I highly recommend supporting the author. The other thing is I'm going to put a link to my book. It's about journaling, how, when, why, where to journal, because journaling, prayer, meditation have been pivotal in my own spiritual journey. I'm going to put a link to my podcast if you would like more of Your Girl Andy. And with that, I love you guys.